Hello. Hello. Ladies, gentlemen. Welcome to another brave excursion into my psyche. Where will it lead tonight? What weirdness abounds in the brain of Paul's ego this eve? Who knows? What are your thoughts on the, excuse me, weed, please. Weed got me over here wheezing. I don't really know what he's accused of, honestly. I haven't looked too much into it. I haven't given a fuck about wrestling for a long time. I like trolling the guys about it, but I really honestly, I don't follow it anymore. I haven't since, probably the late 90s, so I'm a little out of the game. I don't think I'm the guy to talk about it with any kind of authority, So it's not going to come from me. Tucker's going to interview Putin. Dude, what an insane fucking world we live in, man. That's been on my mind today. Just the fucking absolute, hardly anybody goes to it or looks at it anymore, but The Onion used to just be like a satirical news site where they would say wacky off the wall shit that was funny to think about, maybe semi half plausible, but just really funny, obvious satire shit. And I feel like people have just stopped going to it. I know I have, because the headlines in reality are pretty much the same. They feel like satire from another universe. You know what I mean? I feel like there's some other fucking universe that I used to be a part of where The Onion is writing this universe. You know what I mean? Like their writing of satire in that universe creates a ripple in the space-time continuum that created this universe, Glad you're enjoying it, Vaughn Panda. You're brave reading all of them too. I don't know if I really can't recommend a lot of the Dune books to people, honestly. I liked them okay, but found them a little bit drawn out and a little bit inscrutable and boring, honestly, in some spots. So I don't really recommend Children of Dune or Dune Messiah although Dune Messiah is pretty good. Actually, Children of Dune has got some good parts too, but yeah. Anyway, I don't want to get into it. Gender fluid illegals are entering the country twice. Whoa. GTA San Andreas, dude. Yeah, that was a good GTA. I think a lot of people skip over it when they're talking about GTA. And I don't know why, because like when that shit dropped, that was the hottest shit. Had all the fucking classic 90s tunes. Oh my god, dude. That one was definitely made for people of my generation, for sure. Vice City. I mean, I love Vice City too. That's the great thing about it is like that's my music too. Like that's the music my parents listened to and thus that I listened to from, when I was born till 10 years old and beyond. That's why I love the GTA series, especially those earlier ones, man, because they are just all pretty much uniformly reflective culturally of times that I lived through that are like kind of like recognizable and familiar. Music, bah humbug, waste of time. I know what you're doing, 3D Cal. I don't know. I'm not salty enough tonight for that yet. Maybe try again though. You ready for GTA 6? No, I don't think anybody is, dude. I don't know. Maybe it'll suck. I mean, that's always maybe a possibility, but I swear to God, every time they drop one of these movies, it's like, or sorry, one of these games, it's like gaming stops for about 5 years. You know what I mean? And it's all people want to do and talk about. I mean, if they're smart about it and they make it wide open to like modding and crazy bullshit and have that fucking GTA online thing continue, people are, dude, it's going to be the fucking biggest game release ever. Can't wait to get the PC release in 2030. I know, right? So true. I don't know. Maybe by the time they drop that shit, I'll have finally gotten a PS5 or whatever. I'm just waiting, man, because I know how Sony be. Sony wants me to get that. And there's a game on PS5 that I really want to fucking play bad too. And of course, it's a PS5 exclusive. Dude, I want to play Ghost of Tsushima in like the worst way now. I fucking dismissed that game when it first came out, but I've watched a couple of like little, videos of people playing it, and it just looks like so fucking cool. So like, yeah, I got a hole burning in my fucking pocket that has a PS5 written on it, but I'm just waiting because I don't want to happen to me with the PS5 what happened to me with the fucking PS4, dude. I held out on the PS4, and then they released the PS4 Slim. And I was like, you know what? Fuck it. I'm going to get one of those little things. So that's cool. And I swear to God, dude, as soon as I got one, like 2 months later, they were like, the PS4 Slim Pro. It's like the other Slim, but better in every way. And I was like, fuck you. You scumbag, dude. So I'm just kind of waiting for that to happen with the PS5. I know the PS5 Slim is already a thing. Now I'm just waiting for that next. I'm waiting for the PS5 Pro. And when that drops, I'll get one. How's that? And you know it's coming too. PS4 Pro Slim Plus Ultra. Yeah, I know. I know it looks like a fucking Kurosawa film, dude. It's crazy. It looks like it's a lot of fun. I love those kind of like open world 3D not 3D, third person action games, usually. Dark Souls not so much. I don't like the ones that are just like so hard they are just like frustration simulators. I got plenty of that, I mean, I like games where if I get good, and by get good I mean get mediocre, I can pretty much feel like a badass in the game. That's what I'm looking for these days, you know what I mean? I'm in old man mode when it comes to vidya. I want to get mediocre at a game, and I want the game to make me feel like I'm a fucking ultra badass, and I want to beat the game, and then I want to move on. Soulsborne games are for masochists. I don't know. I really did enjoy the first fucking Soulsborne game. I loved Demon Souls, but none of them have felt like had that same vibe and structure since then, and so I really haven't cared about any of them since then. Like if I got a PS5, I'd probably get the Demon Souls remake just because like that's the one I enjoyed. See, I think you guys think TJ playing Bloodborne would be funny, and it certainly would. But when he died to the first dude the 90th time, it's gonna get and he would do it rapid fire. I don't think you guys appreciate how bad TJ is at video games. He does not have like the reflexes that you would expect from somebody that grew up during his time frame and shit. Like he's good. You know what, dude? You hand TJ like a an NES pad, like an original NES pad, and throw like Mega Man in or something. TJ's competent at that. But you give him just a fucking modern twin analog stick, Xbox style controller or PS style controller, and he's like literally like a monkey fucking a coconut, dude. Paul, do you think you'd be patriotic if you were anything other than American? Because I personally would if I was any nationality besides American. I don't no. I mean, I'm patriotic about America, honestly, in my own way. Like I want America to be a better place. I want America to be a place where we don't, worship the god Mammon and his greedy fucking minions. You know what I mean? I want that. And I think America has at the very least a distant potential of being the place on earth that really cracks that egg and introduces a new paradigm on this planet. I mean, I think America's got as good a chance as any other place that exists right now, honestly. And that's what I hope for. Like that's what I hope America is moving towards, a more egalitarian world, a world that isn't reduced to dollars and cents, a world that is conscious of the environment that we all live on together, a world that where technology continues to expand, but is regulated so that it's not manipulative and destructive to the human psyche. A world where education is not only well funded, but populated by the smartest and best teachers, most passionate people that we can find to really inspire children to, new heights of creativity. I mean, we need, like, honestly, guys, can I be honest with you? And it's going to sound fucking pretentious, I know. One of the things, like we talk revolution, right? One of the things we need is a new renaissance. Straight up. We need a new cultural, artistic renaissance. This fucking celebrity obsessed, late 90s, early 2000s culture that's just infected us for the last fucking 2.5 decades. It has to go. There needs to be a new renaissance. It is dumbed down culture. It is dumbed down art. It is dumbed down movies and music. And we need a new wave of hyper creative people making beautiful, boundary pushing, controversial art of all forms, dude, all forms, music. We need movies that make people fucking question themselves again. We need fucking art that makes people feel something again. There needs to be a new renaissance in the arts, theater, just public performances and just the whole lot, man. Go down the line. I genuinely believe that. And I think I'm going to start calling for that. I think I'm going to start, voicing that more when it comes up. Celebrity culture is pure moral decay. I know. And it's still the dominant culture if you think about it. Like they're still shoving these celebs into different fucking TV shows and movies, and they're just dumbed down to the point of like, not all of them. There's still beautiful stuff being made. I'm not trying to criticize all art. I'm just saying the soul of art needs to come back in a big way. and it needs to have a fucking real look in the mirror and decide what comes and what goes. And we need to have that needs to happen, man, because you know what rides on the heels of that sort of fucking cultural renaissance? Revolutions. When the people stop expecting strip malls and start expecting beautiful arcologies, that's when beautiful arcologies start to spring up. I agree to a certain extent, Colin. I do think that the counterculture of the 60s was the first major cultural shift that was heavily and actively subverted by corporations. And so it has that taint on it. But I would agree. There was definitely a cultural revolution in art, fashion, music, philosophy, um, you know, visual arts, performing arts. I mean, there was a huge invigoration and interest in these things, and an expansive list of styles in these different genres that I've talked about that are, you know, when you look at them, you go like, oh man, that's some 60s stuff right there. I mean, it really has a look. So I agree. We need that now. Bring back anti-war hippies. Bring back anti-war, pro civil rights hippies, please, because I'm one of them, and I'm ready to march whenever somebody puts one together. You know what I mean? Like I'm ready to go. I'm ready to go do a fucking sit-in at the Capitol if I got to do it. I'm ready. But yeah, not only bring back the anti-war, pro civil rights hippies, but stop the left from shitting on them and allow them a seat at the table again on the left, because we need it. No, America and even more broadly speaking, capitalism subsumed the hippies. It bought the hippies off, honestly. It made them just comfortable enough that they were willing to sell out their fucking principles and get old and find one of the teats of mammon, one of the many fucking teats of mammon, and latch themselves onto it and suckle. That's what happened to the hippies. Their cultural revolution was subverted by corporations. They were funneled into thankless jobs and given shitty fucking culture to deal with. And they were just, you know, they were bribed just enough that they got smug and entitled, and they forgot their principles, and they sold their souls. And you know what? They did all right by it too. Those fucking hippies are the boomers, and those boomers are some of they're probably going to be the last generation that can rely on a retirement, an actual retirement. So that's what the boomers did. The boomers sold you, me, and every other generation after them down the river, because the government didn't really solve their problems and didn't really address their problems into the distant future. But the government, you know, gave them just enough fucking capitulation that they got lazy and they got compliant. You know that Reagan was big in SAG and still sold out unions. Of course he did. Like there's this thing that like unionists are all these fucking golden guys. Dude, I've told you guys the story of my dad. My dad was a union president, and a very good one too, at a time when the power of unions was shrinking, and he was fighting with that union constantly for better contracts. And he was just like it was like the Emperor Palpatine showed up and was like, Anakin, you know, have you heard the tale of Darth Plagueis the Wise? You know, and my dad just was like, they gave him enough money. They were like, we'll, you know, whatever it was, his benefits package went through the roof. And he was fucking tired of fighting, not only for the union, but within it. And he just fucking said fuck you all, and he went and he was a boss, and he literally left all that shit behind him. He turned his back on it, and he let and look, my dad like is not some fucking standout thing. This happened all over the country in the 80s and 90s. These unionists that had been so instrumental in making sure that the contracts were big and plentiful and reasonable and grew with fucking inflation and grew with the company's profit and all that, right? They were slowly but surely like burned out, because that's another reason my dad left. He was just burnt. He was tired. He was working full time and then running this union full fucking time too. And there were just all these squabbles and internal bullshit and external bullshit, and the company's breathing down his neck, and the fucking AFL-CIO is breathing down his neck, and you know what I mean? He was in a high stress position, and he was just burnt by the end of it. And there was nobody in that union that would step up and take the place. You know, not to talk shit about them, but when my dad left, that union went down the fucking toilet. There was just nobody else in the union that could step into those fucking socks that had that leadership quality or whatever the fuck it was. And like I said, now that place, people make fucking a pittance. They don't make a living wage anymore. Their benefits packages for shit. They can barely afford fucking rent, let alone owning a little piece of property and vehicles, plural. No. Them days are gone. But a lot of the boomers were like, fuck you, got mine. Yeah, sucks to be you now, but I'm telling you, back when I was working, my paycheck was fat. My bank account had quite a few zeros on it. You know what I mean? And that's kind of how the boomers are a lot of times, considering that most of them just funneled themselves into the Democratic/Republican party structure. Fuck you, got mine. My retirement's locked in. Ain't nothing you can do about it. My social security money's coming. Ain't nothing you can do about it. My house is already purchased. Ain't nothing you can do about it. Fuck you, got mine. Union rotted. Fuck you, got mine. Factory went to shit. Fuck you, got mine. World went to shit. Fuck you, got mine. Media and art and corporate influence on those things went to total shit. Fuck you, got mine. Then boomers turn around and call us lazy, even though we're working 2 to 3 jobs to make ends meet. Well, this is something I'll say, and I'm not saying this was all boomers, but what one of the criticism I will not make of my parents directly, they were fucking hard workers. These people worked. My mother in particular, my dad was a fucking hard worker too, but my mother literally just she worked her hands to the bone. She's literally to this day the hardest working person that I've ever fucking known in my life. It is very weird to see her in her, later years now slowing down and stuff, because she was like a fucking tornado. So, you can't, you got to take the good with the bad, right? The boomers were the hippies. They were hardworking people and genuinely committed unionists. But as time went on and the struggle went on, a lot of them got tired of fighting. A lot of them heard the siren call a union buyout, and they went to it. And that's that. Do you think Gen Z will do better? I hope they do. I don't, I know they're up against it, man. Gen Z is coming into a world that's pretty fucked. We're not giving them a very good start. But I hope they do. You think unions will make a comeback? I mean, I don't have to think they will. They kind of are. I mean, I wouldn't say it's like an avalanche of unionization or something in this country, but unions have been big news for the last 5, 10 years here in this country, even when they're not really successful. But these attempts at unionizing Amazon and Starbucks, um, the expansion of these like retail workers unions, unionization of some big warehouse places, expansion of union collective bargaining rights. I mean, there's been a move towards unionization. I guess now the UAW is calling for a general strike, not imminently, but in I think it's 2026. They're saying our contract ends here, and if we don't receive significant movement on this, we're calling for a general strike. So that means not just their union. They're gonna call on the other AFL-CIO unions. They're gonna call on the Teamsters. They're gonna call on the fucking public utility unions, all that shit. And that hey, dude, that could have some major implications, major positive implications, not just for labor, but for everybody. That could be like the sounding board from which the working people finally say, like, this far and no farther. And in fact, we're heading back the other way for a few fucking decades. So, I hope. I really do. My generation is winking out too. Like the boomers are fucking real old. And us fucking Gen Zer or sorry, Gen Xer / early millennials, we're getting old, man. We're getting into our 40s, very, very quickly going to be in our 50s. You know what I mean? And I'm not going to claim that I fought like some kind of goddamn fucking soldier for leftism my whole life. I didn't have time to, dude. You know what I did? I worked. When I look back over the balance of my young life, the year a lot of you guys are living through now, the years, the fucking late teens, 20s, what was like true through all of it? All my 20s, all my 30s, I worked, hard and for a long time barely made it. I really didn't start doing okay for myself until my fucking mid 30s. And even then, okay meant making a little bit more money, enough money to put down on a house, which wasn't unreachable for people that didn't make a lot of money back then. You know what I mean? I worked. I don't know. I didn't have time to go out and fucking be a soldier for leftism. Now I tried. I involved myself whenever I could. I voted. I joined a local protest organization and walked a picket line a bunch of times. I don't know what to do. I don't know what to tell you other than that. And it'll likely be the same for you and for Gen Z. Later millennials and Gen Z are going to find that a lot that's true of their lives too. And it's like you find yourself kind of my age going like, and I'm not saying I'm like knocking on heaven's door or anything, but certainly like, my best and brightest years are fucking behind me at this point. I mean, there's no questioning that. In terms of just like health and ability is what I'm talking about. I might have some fucking crazy good years coming, but in terms of my ability and shit, I can't lie. Like, brain has a couple of maybe little clunks and cobwebs in it that I notice now that I didn't notice 10 years ago. Body is a little more painful and a little less compliant than it was 10 years ago. You know what I mean? I'm starting to see it. I'm starting to feel it. Opinions and ideas on educators unions being stripped of striking ability? Absolutely not. I don't think any union can even really credibly be said to exist if they're stripped of the ability to walk out in collective action and protest. So absolutely not. Absolutely not. There are ways that the teachers union could be reformed. A lot of it at this point, because they're so powerful, it needs to happen from within with the teachers unions. Because as far as I'm concerned, there's one thing that they do that I think undermines them in the eyes of a lot of people, myself included. Honestly, I have beef with teachers unions. I'll tell you guys a story. and I've told this before, but it's relevant. We're having the talk now. We're talking union stuff. Let me tell you guys a story, right? And I'm going to use different names. I'm going to change the names. I worked at a bunch of different elementary and middle schools throughout my career as a tech support tech guy. At I mean, tech support doesn't really cover it. I was like a site tech manager for 3 different schools at a time. So I oftentimes my job was pretty fucking complex and pretty crazy, and I had a lot of responsibility. And one of those responsibilities involved, like, oftentimes just staying after work to get shit done that wasn't going to get done otherwise, working extra hours. This is shit I did voluntarily because I didn't look at my direct boss and the department that I worked for and see a fat cat sitting pretty while I'm being asked to work off the books overtime. I never saw that. What I saw was a super underfunded department that was happy to have the good people that it had. And I worked hard because of that, because I felt like I was really trying to help children, honestly, ultimately. I mean, I didn't feel that way a lot of the time, like I was directly helping kids, but that's what I was doing. I mean, it was my job to make sure that the technology on campus, including all their little laptops and their fucking desktop computers and the computer lab, worked. You know, the internet worked, the wiring worked. And so, but after school, a lot of times I would try and do workshops with teachers who were just really bad with technology. And there was one that was like this. The principal came to me one day, and he was a good guy. I was usually good with my principals. I think that's a smart thing to do. But this guy, I really liked him as a principal. I thought he was kind to his teachers, and I thought a lot of them were really good, most of them. But there were a couple that were, and there was one that was fucking crazy. And he came to me and he said, Mrs. Smith, we'll just call her Mrs. Smith. He'll say, Mrs. Smith, she's having trouble with her Promethean board. She's having trouble with her projector. She claims it doesn't work. And I said, I know. I said, she's put in a bunch of requests, and I've gone in there and just like plugged it in for her, and I'm like, oh, it's just unplugged down here, right here underneath it. Got unplugged from the wall or turned it on for her, And he was like, yeah, I know. He's like, could you find some time to spend with her? And I was like, I told him yes, even though the answer should have been no. I was neck deep. But what it meant is that off the books, after hours, I was going to be staying with her instead of going home. And so I did. I spent like a good week staying after work, an hour and a half every day, working with her, teaching her how to use the technology, teaching her how to do the basic troubleshooting you have to know how to do. I'm one dude, 3 sites, hundreds of teachers, thousands of computers. I can't be in your room every time something gets unplugged. You know what I mean? Like, so, and I showed her and she got it. And a couple of weeks later, the principal calls me again, right? And he goes, hey, I wanted to see if you had any update on when you think you're going to be able to sit down with Mrs. Smith. And I said, I did. I spent a week with her, hour and a half every day last week. He was like, you're kidding me. I said, what? He said, I went into her class today to ask her about it, and it was in disarray. She said it wouldn't turn on. She didn't know how. I was like, you got to be kidding me. I was like, dude. He was like, I know. He was like, all right, thank you very much for your time doing that. I appreciate you doing it. And, I knew I wasn't in trouble. So under that circumstance, this is a person, right? And it wasn't just this. Her classroom was disorganized and messy and kind of like dirty. Teachers people don't know this about teachers. They think there's like some janitor and cleaning women that come around. No, teachers clean their own rooms every day, right? And this woman's room was filthy. The desks were grimy and dirty. The computers were always just smudged and gross, and it was cluttered too. And when you went, when I would go in there to fix one of the kids' computers or something for her, it was like she had very little control, and she was a first grade teacher. These are little kids just out of kindergarten, you know what I mean? And she couldn't Like they were just talking and smacking each other and running around the class, giggling, and she's just out of control of her class. It wasn't like she was some ancient old lady either. She was totally, she was older than me at the time, but she probably would be about my age now, if I had to guess, maybe a little older than me now when this happened. So totally fucking capable of learning to use this very simple technology and plug it in, right? Especially if she got like a 1 week free one-on-one workshop with an expert. She could pick it up. So she's not doing her job on any level. What do you guys think should happen to that teacher? I'll wait for the chat to catch up, and I honestly want to hear what you guys think, and be real. Don't be crazy or hyperbolic. What do you think should happen to that teacher? Warning. Okay, let's assume. Good point, Russian Blue. Let's assume that she's been warned. Like this is not the first time they've gone to her and said, "Hey, you need to clean up your room," which it wasn't. Let's say this is like multiple times she's been asked to take care of this. We just got done wasting our tech guys' fucking whole after work time for a week, and she didn't learn a fucking thing, or at least pretends she didn't. Fired, right? So guess what happened? She was moved to another school at the end of the semester. Because the teachers union wouldn't back firing her. So like the Catholic Church does with pedo priests, just like moved to another parish, that's what they do with shitty teachers. They just move them around until they find a place where they can just slack off and be shitty, and it doesn't really matter. And that's my big fucking problem, because it violates what I have always understood to be a major principle of the union. And I've talked to you guys about this, right? The union does not want to hurt the corporation that it works under, right? The union wants that corporation to thrive and do good and make more money every year than the last year, because that means when it's time to talk contract, the union can point at it and say, look at the productivity that we've provided. Look at the accident record. Look at the completely clean record, the absentee records, and look at how hard we worked. And then the company really has no leg to stand on in negotiations, and it means the workers get a better chunk of the pie. And teachers aren't doing that. How many years did I do that job? I did it for 9 years, and a little more than 9 years. And it may not surprise you to hear I finally got fucking this. I didn't just quit to do the drunken peasants. I'd quit months and months before DP. I just reached a point where I was literally going out of my mind. I was asked to do too much. I was given too little support. The teachers were all fucked up. The technology was fucking, a lot of it predated me in age. It was fucking crazy. And so I just reached a point where I just had to quit, because I knew it wasn't going to change. It wasn't going to get better. And I could not, honestly, it wasn't the hard work. That sucked, but whatever. I could do it. It was the depression of watching these institutions rot and become just daycare centers and babysitting centers, rather than places where kids come to learn about the world and find their passions, which is what school was for me. I don't mean to sound like fucking butterfly in the sky, like I'm doing a fucking PBS show or something. And I'm not trying to, this old man, he played knickknack on his thumb or whatever the fuck you either. But I'm just saying, my education, for good and ill, it wasn't perfect, but I met a lot of inspiring people. I got to do some crazy cool shit, and I found my passion, right? How old were you? I started working there when I was 28, 29. And I quit. I think it was 28. I might have been 27. And I quit when I was 30. I don't know. I was in my fucking mid late 30s, 34, 35, 36. I think it was 36 or 37. I can't remember, honestly. I would have to like go back and look at my bank account to know shit. I don't even have the same bank account I had then, so I can't even do that. I guess I could look at my fucking tax records or whatever and find out. But yeah, it was. I figured it once, and it was just over 9 years. So I would have been in my, mid 20s to late 30s. Seeing your work go to waste is soul destroying. It wasn't just my work though, because I had that, and it was fucked too because I worked in the same district that I got my education in. And so this did, and I worked out a lot of the schools that I went to as a little boy. And so watching these places rot had a very personal fucking note to me because, Paul, how great was your education really if you couldn't graduate from college, multiple time dropout? Well, I'm talking about my public education, not my college education. I have quite a few more gripes about my college education, but point taken. Yeah, I really like, honestly, I could sit and bitch about college and the way it's designed, but ultimately I couldn't hack it. Believe it or not, high school was really tough for me. Not like socially. I had a lot of friends. That was fun. I had a passion that I could pursue, and I would lived in a really just kind of like an anomalous place where a lot of money was allotted to the arts, and the art program was just run by this genius of a teacher, another one of a long list of passionate, inspiring teachers in my life. And so I had all that, but like math, science, chemistry, those types of things, dude, you had to pass those in my day to pass high school. And I struggled really fucking hard, right? And then I got out of fucking high school and I was like, I fucking graduated. I did good. I went to high school, or I went to a competition and literally won a full ride scholarship to Fresno State University. Full ride, 4-year scholarship to Fresno State in theater arts and performance, right? Fucking A, dude, you got it made. You want to know what my first class list was like? Chemistry, algebra 3, fucking, Euclidean geometry, advanced microbiology. It was fucked. It was like all the shit I was bad at, and no environment where, because like here's the thing, and if you've been to college, like, look, I don't know what it's like to be a college graduate, but going to college got a lot of experience to that. I've tried it 3 full fucking times, I think 4 actually, to go back to college and done a semester or more, right? So one of the things they don't tell you about college is that nobody gives a fuck. You know what I mean? Like at my school, can somebody, like, if there's a fucking dude in here, just ban this Mr. Terrible Dork. Get him out of here. Get him out of here. No, but like nobody gave a fuck. Like the teachers there, you were just another fucking student to them. They had 8 fucking classes that day that they had to get through. Like, you didn't mean shit. Like, nobody was helping you along, reminding you to do shit. They didn't care if you passed or failed. And I understand why it's that way. But those twin things coupled with just being kind of like dropped in it. And I don't know, man, maybe I matured late. Does that make sense? Like, looking back on it, I was 18, but I really like, I remember at the time I was like, I had genuine thoughts when I walked onto the campus, right? I looked around and I felt like there was a bunch of college kids, and I was like, dude, I'm a kid. I was like, fuck, dude, I'm like, what am I even here? Like, I'm a child. You know what I mean? Which a lot of them were too, but I just was not like, that's all excuses. I mean, it's all on me. And there are different excuses or whatever. Some of them, with similar undertones for the other times that I went back to college and failed. Um, but yeah, it wasn't that. Like it was. I just mean mentally, not letting us. Dude, I was, I was actually an early bloomer with when it came to like puberty. But I'm just talking like, they say, I know it's probably just a bullshit adage, but maybe it holds true at some level of statistic. But like, they say that like girls mature faster than boys. Like boys, take a little longer to break into, at 18, maybe they're not quite as prepared as girls to shift into like pseudo adult mode or whatever. That was definitely true of me. I was pretty immature. I'm a literal child. Are you sending me to college? I'm a child. Are you a pedophile? You sending me to college? I'm only a child. I was always a little hyperactive. Yeah, I was always a little withdrawn and what is the word I'm looking for? Puerile is the word I would look for. I was this may shock you, a little bit of a hedonist as a teenager. I like to stay up all hours of the night playing StarCraft 2 and catfishing older women and then sleep until fucking 5 o'clock, 5 p.m. the next day and do it all over again, man. Was it expensive? What was what expensive? I don't know what you're asking about. Was going to college expensive? I got a full ride scholarship. So it cost me nothing. I was still living with my parents. So and I had a car already because everybody had a car by 18 when I was a kid. Paul, you taught me a new word. Cool. Oh, puerile. Yeah. Yeah, that definitely describes me and my friends. Kind of crude, puerile, and a little bit childish, a little bit like stubborn, kind of childish still. We weren't like playing with toy trucks or whatever. I'm not saying that. I'm just saying like with a childish kind of fuck it, who cares, let's get high and have fun and party till we die kind of like outlook, which was very, by the way, very common in the 90s, in the late 90s and early 2000s in particular. I mean, that's when party rock came out. Okay. All right. Them early 2000s, don't underestimate it, man. There was a lot of fucking brain cells burnt. Party rock is in the house tonight. Still is pretty common. I assume it is. Yeah. I assume it is. Main character syndrome. I don't know. Maybe you would say it was, but let me be honest with you, dude. I think it was just like lack of motivation and a dream syndrome. because I will be honest with you. Let me let you in. All right. I'm going to let you into the mind of 16-year-old Paul. All right. Because I remember being 16-year-old Paul. 16-year-old Paul wanted one thing. Well, no, he wanted a bunch of things, but none of them made any fucking sense. Number one, 16-year-old Paul didn't want to be cucked by the system and get a family and own a house and all that bullshit. Why would he do that when 16-year-old Paul was completely comfortable in his bedroom with his TV and his computer? All right. No shit. I was going down incel lane with my foot to the metal. Okay. I was like, everybody's trying to push me into this fucking rat race world or whatever, but I love just like fucking going out, getting high, getting drunk, trying to get my dick sucked, then coming back here and playing Ultima Online till my eyes bleed and pretending to be asleep when my dad wakes up to go to work so that I can get up and play a little bit more before I actually go to bed, and then try and wake up before 5 because that's when he gets home so I can pretend I did shit today. Like that was my life, dude. That's all I wanted. I wanted my car. I wanted my friends. I wanted to fuck. I wanted to play video games. And I wanted to live in my little, it wasn't even all that little. It was actually a pretty nice bedroom for a kid. And it was pretty sweet. You know, it was a very 90s bedroom. And yeah, a little TV in it with a VCR. Had my computer set up on a desk. Had my nice big comfy bed in the corner. You know what I mean? Posters all over the walls and shit. My bong stashed in the fucking bedside table. You know, I didn't have any aspirations. I didn't have any dreams for my life, really. Everybody was telling me, oh, you need to do this. Like all the mentors in my life, right? So my dad, oh, you need to do this, boy. My mom, honey, what I think you need to do is this. And my teacher, my drama teacher, Paul, here's what you need to do. Here's what you're gonna do. Here's what you'll be good at. You know what I mean? And I didn't think I was gonna be good at any of that. Honestly. And so I said, fuck it. When I figured out, and it didn't take me long, I wasn't a stupid kid. I was a little immature, but I wasn't stupid. When I figured out that my real dream in life was unattainable, pretty much. And this is a very negative way to look at it, by the way. It's not unattainable, but it's unlikely. My real dream in life was to be a theater actor for the rest of my life, to make money doing theater. Now, was there a path to me doing that? Abso-fucking-lutely, if I'd have stuck with it. But that path is very unlikely. All right. There's a lot of people that set out to be professional actors that never make it in the business. And there's a good chance that I would have been one of those people. Right. And I knew that. And I was like, well, what else do I want to do? And the answer that came back was honestly nothing. Nothing. I don't want to do anything but be on stage for the rest of my life. And very few people get paid a living for doing that, and even fewer people have a long career doing it, right? And I knew that as a kid. I knew it was fucking a pipe dream. Even my mentor knew it. It wasn't like she wasn't pushing me to like move to New York and be on Broadway. She wanted me to go to fucking college and do what she was doing. She thought that I would have been a good teacher. And that was her vision for me, was that I go to fucking Fresno State. I do my fucking 4 years. I get my bachelor's. Then I do finishing at Cal Arts. And I get a fucking, certificate. I get my teaching certificate with a focus in theater and performing arts. And then I come back and I work at my fucking hometown school. That's what she wanted for me. And my dad kind of wanted the same thing, just in his version of it, Oh, here's what you need to do, boy. You need to get a job here and then blah, 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 blah. And then you take business classes and I'll get you in over here at the recycling plant. You know what I mean? It's like, oh, no. And my mom just, go to school. That's all. And maybe she was the most right. Just go to school, baby. She wasn't really pushing me one way or the other, but she was very hard on like, you need to go to fucking college. And that was that, you know what I mean? And all of that sounded like shit to me if I couldn't do what I loved. And so I was like, well, I'm going to do these other things that I love. Cause you know what I also love? Sitting around at 3 a.m., jerking off with a 29-year-old woman who's cheating on her husband with me and thinks that I'm in my fucking mid 20s, right? I liked not just playing video games, but playing them in such a way that I ruined other people's times. I've told you guys the stories. I was a fucking troll in every game. It was the only thing I liked doing. I'd do it for hours. I did it for years. And that's what I wanted to do. So, you gotta understand, like, that to me belies a pretty fucking immature way of looking at the world. I can't be an actor, so man, I just want to live at home and play StarCraft. It's like, oh, you've been screwed. I feel like the American society is antagonistic towards the arts. Your point about the cultural renaissance is poignant. Yeah, no, I mean, you're gonna hear it more from me. Like when these stories come up, I'm gonna start waving that banner a little harder because I've believed that for a long time, but I really believe it now. Do you have an emotional attachment to your teachers? Absolutely. Some of those teachers were like surrogate parents for me because and look, my parents were always good at engaging us outside of school in things, taking us to different events and involving us in different cool things and being with us and spending quality family time, right? But the truth of the matter was that my parents were shift workers trying to make ends meet and live close to their means, and they had to work a lot. And so, we spent a lot of time at school and after school projects and with friends and babysitters and family members and stuff. Um, and that was a lot of these teachers were like, I didn't think of them as like, oh, that's my mom until it really, other than one. I did feel that way about my high school drama teacher because she was just that type of person. She was the only teacher that I ever knew that I knew would be cool if I went to her with some shit. You know what I mean? She wasn't going to freak out. Like if I told her like, "Oh, I smoked some pot. I think my parents caught me or whatever it is." She's going to give me that. No, she didn't always react the way I wanted her to. She was always pretty fucking direct and pretty harsh, but she had like that mom vibe to her. You know what I mean? She wasn't just a teacher. She was the front line basically because I was going to go to her before I went to my parents. I was way less scared of her because she was way more even-handed than either of my parents were. My parents are both fucking hotheads. And so, like I did not want to bust the tea kettle until I tested it out. Even though my teacher gave me the fucking business, and I'm not even kidding, dress me right the fuck down a bunch and say some blunt wisdom truth, dude. I remember one time I went to her because I was depressed, right? And the object of that depression at this point, or at least the trigger for it, was this unrequited relationship that I chased all through high school with this chick, Tammy. It was, you know what I mean? It was very fucking high school shit. But we were on again, off again, never really together, but always together, doing things that boyfriend and girlfriend do, but won't tell anybody that. And, I was just up and down, up and down. It was like a roller coaster with this chick, right? And I went to my teacher at one point. She was in her little office that was kind of like it was a tiny little closet that she had made into an office with a window in it at the back of the big drama assembly room. And I went in there and I was like, oh. She's like, what's going on? I said, it's just this shit with Tammy. And she just rolled her eyes at me and she goes, Paul, let me tell you something. I love Tammy. She's a great little actress. She's funny. I think you guys are cute, and I've seen you walking around. I've seen how you are. I'm not stupid. He's like, she was like, but you need to stop. And I was like, stop what? You need to stop with this shit. Stop with the Tammy shit. You need to move on. Date one of these other little girls or something. And I was like, no, but like I didn't listen to her. You know what I mean? But that was the best advice. Kind of similar to the advice my dad gave me, although with a totally different aim. Yeah, I mean, like I had several teachers that I felt that way about. That you know maybe they weren't as influential, but they really cared. They cared about us as kids, and the class sizes were small enough that they knew us all and they knew our parents. You know, they'd see our parents come pick us up and they'd wave to them and talk to them real quick if they needed something or wanted to tell them something that we'd done or something that happened. You know, and that's just gone now. Psh. Good advice becomes good advice in hindsight as life plays out. Yeah, you're so right. Parallel experience. My drama guy told us to call him if we ended up drunk and needed a ride. I don't know if I would have went that far with my teacher because she would have fucking real. She probably would have like that's the thing. She probably would have taken me out of a show. She'd have come got me, but she would have probably like demoted me, like taken away a role or grounded me from a fucking competition or something. She wouldn't have fucked around with that. She did not like that we were experimenting with drugs and shit. She tolerated it to a certain extent because she knew that there was nothing she could really do other than like call the cops on us, and she wasn't about to do that over some weed and underage drinking. But she hated that we did it. She thought it was a waste of time and dangerous, of course. I mean, that was probably really why she hated it because it was, you know, dangerous for kids to be running around all souped up. I got my first real good teacher when I went into music school. So they were supportive and were happy to help me with my teen problems. Yeah, for sure. She wanted you, Paul. Don't even like that's so gross, dude. I just got done telling you I think of this person as like a surrogate mother. And then you fucking have to like that's gross, dude. That'd be yeah. Look, dude. I never thought of her that fucking way, and now I have, and I wish you would fucking fall off a cliff right now, bro. You need to get a profile pic. All right, get a profile pic. I'm just warning you. Get a PFP. Figure it out, bro. I know, it's fine. But I'm just letting you know your fucking no PFP privileges just got pulled with that one, dude. They just got pulled with that one, dude. You put naked images of a woman that I consider to be a surrogate mother in my fucking head, dude. Directly. You lost your privileges, bitch. You better find it. Work it out, figure it out, get it on there. I think I am going to have to start tightening the rope. But you know what? They figured out around my PFP bans. A lot of the dudes tonight that have needed a fucking head smack. Dude, Jareth, are you a fucking mod in here? How do I make you a mod? I don't think I can do it from here. Well, remind me like next time or something to. Well, no, I can do it real quick. I actually know how to do it now. Now that I think about it, it won't be that hard. I'm just gonna do it real quick. Are you already a mod here? Okay. Okay, good. Good, good. All right. Paul, what are your thoughts on bringing back public library tutors? I never really used them as a kid. Maybe they weren't available. I know they were though. I remember seeing them, seeing like the flyers and stuff. I just never availed myself of it, but I think it's a good thing to keep around because I think a lot of kids went there for help. By the time I was in high school, especially like, past sophomore year, I had the internet, I had the brave new world. Okay. I didn't need a library or a tutor anymore because I had web crawler. Dude, I just had a memory of because I said web crawler. There was a site, and for the life of me, I don't remember what it's called. But I had you guys want to know what my first internet handle was ever? I don't think I've ever revealed this. My first, and I just remembered the handle because I said web crawler. So I guess that's your hint. But can you guys, and this was one that I used literally when I was a kid, and it was only in these like chat environments that are they're all gone now. You'd be lucky to find a fucking archive of it. Paul with the hot tea tonight. I know. Deadly spider, dude. Boy lover? No, dude. And it's time out for that fucking guy. Get out of here, dude. Dude. All right. Get ready. I'm about to reveal. Some of you got a little close, I guess, but not really, though. It was web spider. All one word. But spider was spelled with a Y, not an I. Web spider. And then a series of numbers. Because I think you had to have it back in the day. I can't remember which numbers I used. But yeah, that was my first handle on the internet. My first handle, you should know that. My non-internet CB radio handle. I know there's some old school fans that remember what that was. There has to be. There has to be one or two of you in here. Zero cool. Yeah. The radio one. Yeah. My CB handle, dude. My first real true handle. Nobody knows. There it is. The Whiz Kid. The fucking Whiz Kid, dude. The fucking Whiz Kid. Okay, deep lore. What was my friend who trolled with me? What was his name? Because we were a duo. I'll be shocked if anybody remembers this one because that's some deep ass fucking lore. I know I've shared it before. Are you OG enough to know the answer to that? Allied Master Computer. Whiz Kid and no, Hightower was one of the dudes that fucking tried to hunt us down and hunted me down successfully. Nope, not the hog. Was Kid and the Professor. Dun 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 dun. Dude, the deadly duo. Whiz Kid and the Professor. Oh my god, dude. Unstoppable, fucking deadly, dastardly duo. My god, that's excellent. I know, right? Oh my god. Dude, I wish that I'd had the foresight at that time to record some of these things. You know what I mean? Like just get audio recordings because I'm telling you guys, it beggars belief some of the things that I did during that time. It was just this beautiful little fucking sweet spot in America where CB radio had really just been like, it used to be way more popular. Like if I'd tried to do this in the 60s or 70s, I'd have been immediately gaffled up. But because I was doing it in like the early and mid 90s and on, it was like under the radar because only fucking truckers were really using it anymore. All the fucking like, non-trucker outfits had moved to private corporate communications, cell phones, car phones, truck phones, all beepers and all that shit had happened. And nobody was, CB was just kind of a niche just for truckers. So it wasn't being watched really in a regulatory way at all because it was just for dudes like, hey, I'm passing on through Pasadena. Anybody around here? Come on back. Oh, yeah, brother, I'm down here. Come on back. It's just for guys that are lonely to talk or talk about traffic problems or ask questions. Dude, I was just in a little pocket in an area that wasn't monitoring that very closely, and I got away with it for fucking years, bro. I was hated and loved. There were a couple of dudes that were on my side, legitimately on my side, and would like defend me to the other ones. They were just like, look, dude, WizKid, he's a little piece of shit. And so there have been times I want to slap the shit out of him. But I got to tell you what, man, he's a smart little kid if you actually talk to him. Be like, no, fuck that, man. He said he's going to finger bang my wife. It's like, look, he's a little kid. He'd say anything to get your dander up, man. You got to just fucking chill out on the WizKid. Ah, fuck that. I'll chill out when he's 6 feet under the ground. Dude, shit like this would be said all, dude. I can't even tell you, dude. I was getting death threats before the internet. Let me tell you what kind of human being I am, dude. I probably had gotten hundreds. It was one of the reasons why the FCC pulled me in because they had talked to a number of the other truckers around there and had found that sentiments against me were dangerous. Like the local trucker guys, and they stopped some long haul dudes that passed through a lot. Talked to these dudes that were in the area quite a bit and hated me, dude. That's what they told me that. They're like, "Do you understand how mad you make these truck drivers and gentlemen that use this radio?" And I said, "Well, yeah, I guess. I mean, they get mad. Sometimes they make me mad too." He's like, no, but you say awful things. You know what I mean? But yeah, they told my mom, and then my mom told me, like, they want to kill you, Peaches. You better stop. I was like, okay, mama. I'll stop. So I just moved it online where it was harder to track. I didn't stop doing it, but I stopped doing it on public airwaves. Paul, what if one of those truckers is a ideology fan? I really sincerely doubt that. A lot of these truckers were in their like 40s and 50s and stuff when I was trolling them back when I was 13, 12, you know. A lot of them are probably dead, I would imagine. Born to troll. I hate to brag about it, but I really was, man. I really was. Well, that isn't true. I'm trying to fucking sell you guys this born to troll bullshit, but I wasn't born a troll. I was made a troll. Okay. And there are two people that made me a troll. What did your parents think about the radio trolling? They didn't even know it was going on, dude. Like they knew that I had a CB in there and they'd hear me laughing and stuff, but they didn't care. They didn't know what the fuck I was saying. Dude, that was one of the upsides to having parents that work shift work is like they'd be at work at 2 a.m. and I'd be on the CB. They didn't know. Yeah, Hightower. I think all of the people that were involved back then, Hightower, Ghost Rider, the Duck. I'm trying to remember any other names. Strawberry Shortcake. That was Ghost Rider's wife. I bet all these people are dead. If I had to if I was a betting man, not to be morbid or mean, but they were all like in their late 40s, early 50s, some older, some were in their 60s. And I was 13, and I'm 43 now. How does one raise a natural troll? Well, like just like a child, it takes a village. But there really were two people that are pretty fucking closely responsible for making me a troll. And I don't know which one to talk about first. I don't, in no order. Should I start with the youngest and move to the oldest, or the other way around? Should I start with the oldest and move to the youngest? Because there's a pretty big age gap between the people that influenced my trolling. Youngest first, oldest first. I guess it doesn't matter. I'll start. Otello was first on the draw, so you win. Start with the youngest. The youngest, my little sister, my biological sister. Let me just tell you something, okay? You guys like me probably for a number of reasons. I'm not trying to puff myself up, but I'm I got a little bit of a quick wit to me sometimes. I've got a good comedic timing. I trained that way, so got that. I can do some funny impressions and and I'm kind of mean. I'm kind of vicious, you know. My sister, especially when she was little and going up through like being an early teenager, was straight out evil. She taught me everything I know. She would constantly, and she was younger than me, have a comeback that would make me want to cry when we were little kids coming up together. Like I would say something like, "You're so," because I had this name for her and it's fucked up, but I'm going to tell you what it was. So she had, when she was little, a gap between her teeth. And I had this it was actually a pretty good name. So I'm just going to, this story comes from, this like early 6th grade, right? So it would have been, how old are you in 6th grade? Like 11, maybe 12, something like that, right? Well, she was one of the she was the main troll driving the board game. 11, 12. Yeah. So I would have been like 11. Yeah. Right. And she came up and she was giving me some shit about something. And I said, whatever. Why don't you shut up, Krusty Gap? That was the nickname that I gave her that she hated because she had a gap in her teeth. And she was like, I'd rather have a gap than be a big fat whale. And I almost fucking fell over dead from fucking shame, dude. Because I was getting chunky by then, you know what I mean? But 6th grade is when it really started to happen. And I was real sensitive about it. And so I went for her crusty gap, and she went straight for the blubbery ass, dude. And it was just like parried and riposte, and she got me right in the heart. And I was just like, fuck you. And I got in trouble for saying fuck you to her. You know what I mean? And you know who was there while I was getting fucking the riot act read to me by mom standing behind there? Crusty Gap. Smiling. The whole gap showing. Right behind mom as she's reading me the fucking riot act. Krusty Gap was there. And she sported the gap, dude. Now, I want you to tell me, how are you raised in that environment under that amount of pressure and you don't grow up to be a troll? The other one was an uncle of mine who wasn't really even an uncle. He was a union friend of my parents who was around all the time so much that I grew up calling him Uncle. I'll call him Uncle Fred. That wasn't his name, but I'm not trying to dox. And Uncle Fred was, I don't know how Uncle Fred was, honestly. I don't know how he was as a child. He was, I came up with a word for him later when I was trying to tell my friends about him. He was hilarifying. Yeah, does that make any sense? Hilarifying. Um, he was always pulling pranks on people. And he was big too. He was just a big dude. And I hate to say it, but it added to the mystique. Okay. And he didn't care about it. And I'm not trying to fuck on it, but he had soft palate repair. Like he had been born with a cleft lip. And then he had soft palate repair done. And so it made his speech kind of thick and not you could understand him fine, but it was very like bassy and terrifying. It added like a very unique thickness to his pronunciation and stuff. I don't want to fucking make fun of it, but it was kind of like this. And when he laughed, this wheeze would come out of him. He would go, but it was so, I can't even do it, dude. It wasn't a laugh. It was like a fuck, the loudest fucking wheeze that you ever heard in your life. Just like, but like 10 times, like a donkey was doing it or something, right? He was terrifying and hilarious. But I loved him and I hated him. You know what I mean? I was terrified of him, and I also thought he was the fucking funniest dude at the party. And the reason I was terrified of him mostly, well, he was kind of a terrifying guy, just, you know, and he was just brazen too. Like he would fuck on everybody, you know, he had no fear. And he wasn't, well, he was mean with it too. But, you know, people put up with it because he was, you know, he was a stand up guy in the union and he was a fun guy to have around or whatever. He was a good guy, you know, he just joked around a lot, you know, like people put up with it. But he was ruthless, man. Well, he would like, I remember he lit a firecracker under my uncle's foot one time. We were over at my uncle's house, another uncle that wasn't an uncle, by the way. He had a big bar in his house, like an actual, like it looked like an old timey bar with all the liquor bottles and the big naked Mexican Incan princess painting behind him. It was great. I loved it when I was a kid. Titties for free. But the uncle that owned the house was standing behind the bar like he liked to do, and my uncle Fred snuck in with a firecracker and put it under my other uncle's foot and lit it and then scrambled away. You gave him the hot foot. So you didn't know. But the reason I was uniquely terrified of my uncle was because he overheard my mom bitching about how she wanted to have my hair cut short. And I remember my aunt, who wasn't my aunt, by the way, you know, another one of these close friends of the family that I called aunt. I remember her saying, like, "Oh, don't do it. Don't do it, honey. Don't cut his hair. His hair's so beautiful." And my mom said, "I know, but he is so damn tender-headed." And my Uncle Fred overheard this. And the next time he saw me, I was like, he came in, and it was like he was like a dog, like a fucking hunting dog that had my scent. He walked right past everybody and was like, "PJ," in that big fucking thick voice of his. And I was like, "Oh, Uncle Fred, hey!" And he held out his arms like he wanted a hug. And you know that's not unusual. Hey, Uncle Fred. I went over to give him a hug, and he squeezed me and put me basically in a headlock. And then he gave me what you guys have probably call a noogie. Does that make sense? A noogie, where they like, you know, you take your knuckle and you rub it on the top of somebody's head a little bit. A noogie, right? You guys understand what I say when I. So he gave me a noogie, but he didn't call it a noogie, and I think his term was more appropriate. I shit you not. He called it scobbin' the nobbin. Scobbin' the nobbin. And it hurt. He didn't just do it lightly for a second or two, or just medium for a sec. He dug his knuckle into my scalp and scobbed my nobbin until I was literally crying. Laughing like a fucking donkey the whole time. Those are the two people that made me the troll that I am today. Honestly, the most influential people. The guy was an asshole. Yeah. But I loved him. All because he heard you were tender-headed. Yeah. Yeah. It was assault. It was multiple assaults. He did it every time he saw me for years, until I got big enough to push his fucking ass over. You know what I mean? Like, basically, when I had my growth spurt in high school after freshman year is when he stopped scobbing my nobbin. I got my last nobbin scob probably somewhere midway through my freshman year of high school, and it started when I was like 8. But whatever, I still loved him. I just had to put, I got used to it. He toughened me up a little bit. Why didn't you tell your parents about him? He did it in front of them. It wasn't like he took me off to some secret fucking room and scobbed my nobbin, dude. He would run up in the middle of the party when I'm standing there talking to my dad and grab me from behind and scob my nobbin and laugh like a donkey, and my dad would fucking break up and everybody in the room would break up. Like, wait a minute. Did you think he was grabbing me by the hand and going like, "Hey, Peaches, come with Uncle Frank"? And like taking me off in a back bedroom or something? No. What the fuck, dude? Time for your knob scobbing, little boy. Like, oh, Uncle Frank, please stop. Like, not until that knob is scobbed, boy. Now come over here. take what you got coming to you. No, he would sneak up on me and scob my fucking noggin every time. I never knew when he would show up. That's how he announced his presence to me for about, oh, I don't know, 10 years of my life. Till I got big enough to like hitting him in the nuts and tell him to stop. You know what I mean? Show us on the bear where he touched you right on the top of the scalp, Your Honor. Stealth nobbin. I'm not retelling a story for you, Cockatoo. You can rewind it later. But anyway, you know what I mean? Those are the two people that are really responsible for making me into a troll. No, I understand why you're so salty. You're like a tragic villain. It's just perspective, man. I had a pretty fucking cool childhood, honestly. If like there was probably stuff that shouldn't have happened. Like my parents and the other adults in my life really had no problem drinking pretty heavily in front of me my whole childhood, all the way even when I was little. And that probably wasn't the best environment. But I got to tell you, dude, other kids had it worse than me, man. I had this whole crazy family. My whole childhood is filled with characters like that because honestly, of the union that my parents were in. It wouldn't have been like that if my parents weren't diehard unionists. All of these people that I'm saying, the uncles that weren't uncles, they were all members of the union. They all worked at the same factory that my parents did. And they were all stand up good people, honestly. I make fun of my Uncle Fred. You know what I mean? But he never fucking drew blood on my head or anything. And it wasn't like it's not like a trauma or something. I just tell it that way because it's funny. These were all really good people, like stand up folk. And they all had a little hand in raising me and contributing to my sense of humor and shit because, my parents had a big, nice house in the country and it was a nice party place. And so a lot of times me and my sister would be there. We'd be walking around amongst the party and, we were little characters in their party world. They'd talk to us. My little sister would sip Cokes and eat pizza and they'd drink till they were fucking falling over. And, it was a little weird, but the people definitely had it worse. Trust me. Oh, dude, it was more than a family. Dude, let me put it this way. My dad recently told me something that I never knew, and this underlines that. I won't give names or specific details, but one of the members of that union family gave my dad a loan that allowed him to expand our property so that he could build this playhouse thing that he built for us. That he wanted to buy more of the adjacent lot to his house, and this dude gave him a loan and took out a mortgage on his house to give it to him. I never knew that. And this was not his brother or his father doing this for him. This was a dude that he worked with that was in the union with him. And it was a regular occurrence, and not just monetarily, but they had each other's backs. It really was. It was a family. Didn't your parents split up? Yeah, they did. Yeah. Pretty fucking tragic, dude. The end of a pretty idyllic childhood and the beginning of a kind of dark and weird one, honestly. Not to blame my parents for that. And it definitely could have been worse, but yeah. Yeah. Divorce, pretty nasty. I think it's actually worse when it happens to kids that are old enough to really understand the implication. I know it's traumatic for any kid, but I was old enough when my parents really broke up to overhear some of the shit that was going on. the allegations and the angry shit. My parents used to scream at each other and scream on the phone to other people. And I was old enough to process it. So I got some information, overheard some shit that no kid should really know when just adult shit, adult drama. And it sucked. And it made me grow up really fast, in a certain way. Like they call it, pre- uh, precocious. There's a name for it. I'm trying to remember the name of it. Like precocious maturity. I think that's it. Precocious maturity. Sorry, my brain is fried. But yeah, no, in certain ways, I had to kind of like take over a little pseudo parenting role in the household, and things were dark and weird and angsty after that, and never the same. Just got to hear we on childhood trauma. Yeah, we on childhood trauma, my dude. On that childhood trauma tip. Oh my god, dude. Yeah, I don't know how fucking crazy it got in your household, but my parents, thankfully they were never really physical, not with each other at least. Some shit got destroyed. I think by both of them. I think actually my mom was more prone, honestly, to throwing shit sometimes, but there were never any felony assaults or anything that happened. Just shit got broke and screaming and yelling and cussing each other at the top of their fucking lungs, dude. Pretty fucking common, you know. And not that dissimilar from how they dealt with us, especially as we got older. As we aged up into teenagers, they were way more prone to yell and scream at us. And it fucking sucked, dude. It was just a shitty environment. Paul, is spanking children ever acceptable? My answer to that is no. And the reason for that is now, I also have to say that there's a difference between spanking and, if your kid is acting out in the grocery store, grabbing them by the hand and giving them a little swat on their bottom or whatever the fuck. Like that to me is not spanking. Spanking is when you intentionally inflict like really extreme pain on a child to correct some behavior. And I do not think that that is permissible or acceptable. I don't think if I was a parent that I would swat my kids, but I also don't think we ought to arrest every goddamn parent. I don't think you're leaving in no bruises. You might be leaving some psychological bruises or whatever the fuck, but I mean, there are worse things happening to children than a swat on the bottom. I don't want to die on that fucking hill. But I can tell you that if I had a kid, I probably would have a very strict, like, no physical violence is ever used against this child policy. And that would be strictly enforced. Dude, you said the same shit like 12 years ago. To what? Oh, just what I think about capital punishment. Yeah. I mean, I don't know. I mean, I guess that's funny. I mean, I don't know. I guess it just shows I don't, as nobody has changed my opinion on that. I've never seen a study that's like, actually, beating your children works. In fact, everything I've seen is like, beating your children causes profound psychological damage as well as physical harm. So, did I say capital? I meant corporal. My bad. But yeah, I don't think there should be capital punishment either. Your mom would use la chancla. Yeah. I grew up around a lot of my friends were Hispanic growing up, and I saw la chancla used several times. It didn't look all that bad, dude. La Chancla didn't look all that fucking bad, dude. I got la leather belt. Okay, you got the flip flop. I got a leather belt, like a cowboy leather belt. All right, I think I got it worse than you fucking Chancla kids, dude. Yeah, my mom had the spanking spoon. Fill that backup channel of your old vids, and you've changed a lot of things. It's crazy, mostly physical change. Well, yeah, like surprise, surprise, man seems to age with passing time. Scientists baffled. Like, well, yeah, dude. You gotta remember too. At the time of a lot of those videos, I was working a fucking 9 to 5. In fact, all through every last video on that archive, I was working a 9 to 5, dude. You know, I couldn't have crazy long hair and an unkempt beard. It just wasn't. I work for Starbucks. Wait, you're real? I know, right? When time passes, like the same thing that happens to you guys happens to me. Like I get old, and a lot of people get on me about the voice change, and I'll be honest with you, it kind of bothers me too. But like I said, I was talking to my dad the other day, and his voice has done the same thing. It's the same, but it's gotten gravelier. You know what I mean? And that's what's happened to my voice as well. A lot of vocal fry these days. Yeah, I mean, it's just when I really think about it, all the men in my family have had it. My uncles have it. Not necessarily exactly sounding like me, but the gravelly voice thing is just something I've had to whatever. It's the smoking. Yeah, the smoking doesn't help. Not gonna lie about that. But yeah, my voice has changed quite a bit. It's a little weird. I mean, you can tell it's still me. My inflection hasn't changed a lot, but the tone and timbre of my voice have changed pretty significantly, I'd say, in the last 10, 12 years. No, it's okay. I mean, whatever. I just get a lot of that. I get a lot of people like commenting on my appearance and going like, "Dude, what the fuck happened to Paul?" And I want to strangle those people because they'll say shit like, "What the fuck happened to Paul? If you look at his old videos, look how happy and fucking like actually like almost in shape and like fit he looks." And I just want to tell people like during that era of my life, I was fucking suicidal every day. I hated myself. I was in, quite frankly, a number of toxic fucking relationships during that era that really fucking drained me. I hated my job. I was like having panic attacks and I didn't know what they were. I was in a bad way, my dude. And I'm not claiming to be like the happiest fucking guy in the universe now, but all of those problems that I just mentioned to you have been addressed in my life. And I think I'm doing all right. And it's just weird for people to look at it and take that surface level read and go like, oh, look at Paul because he's got less wrinkles on his face because he's 20 something. You know what I mean? And he's less fat because he's 20 something, and he's got a well trimmed goatee and a normal dude's haircut because he's 20 something working a 9 to 5. Let's look at that Paul and just assume that he was just happy and capable and well off. And then let's look at him compared to me now. Shaggy as fuck. I got hair down to my ass crack. I got a beard that hasn't even been trimmed in like 2 years, dude. I let it all fucking hang out, man. I've gone full hippie. I've embraced it. And that's how I look at it at the very least. I don't have It was funny. I was listening to TJ and Scotty talk about their razor that they have. And TJ was saying something like, "Oh yeah, I had to get rid of my razor and get a new one because it started fucking up." And Scotty was like, "Yeah, get one of these. You know how it is." And and I thought about it and I was like, "Dude, I don't own a razor." I haven't owned a razor in probably like 8 years or maybe longer. I don't have a single like Schick Quadra. You know what I mean? I don't have any. I don't own a can of shaving cream. I don't have an electric clipper. I don't have it. I don't have a razor. You know? But that's how I look at it. I look at it in a way that like, this is kind of always how I wanted to do. I was always fascinated with my facial hair when it started coming in. As soon as it started coming in, because it took a long time before I could even grow like hair on my chin, really. But it came in on my sideburns. And so if you look at my pictures of me from high school and shit, I've got sideburns in them. Like immediately I was like fascinated with the facial hair thing and wanted more of it. And I always had to trim it. And I was always with partners too. This is another thing that would go like, "Oh, I just wish you just take care of that beard," and I'd shave it off and they'd tell me how much better I looked. And, and I let that influence me. And now I'm just at a point in my life where I don't do that. Like I don't have those pressures on me anymore. Like Amelia loves my stupid big fat face and my beard and my hair. And, like she loves me despite those things or for those things, depending on, your perspective. Doesn't that beard get itchy? It can, but I moisturize it. I need to be better about it, honestly. I've gotten kind of lax with it. But yeah, I mean, but if you use like there's beard balms and moisturizers that you use, it's kind of like leave-in conditioners and like beeswax kind of balms and stuff. I use like a natural brand called Honest Amish, and they use it's 100 like no chemical added stuff. It's like beeswax and shea butter, and it like hydrates your beard and keeps it from getting dried out and keeps the skin underneath from getting dried out. And so it's really honestly not that bad. The people that criticize me about how I look or how I choose to like keep myself and how I dress and how my hair is and all that and my beard and all that. I almost kind of feel bad for them, not to like belittle them or whatever, but I hope that they reach a point in their life where they can look however they want to look too. Because to the best of my ability, with some very, very brief exceptions, like if I'm going to like a nice restaurant, I kind of have to toe the line a little, put my hair up and put a fucking collared shirt on and play the role. But like 99.9% of the time in my life, I look exactly how I fucking want to, and the people around me can deal with it however I don't care anymore. I dress for comfort and my own sense of warped fucking fashion, and um, I do me. I guess is how you kids would say it, and I don't care, and I hope you reach that point in your life too, because it's fucked up or strung out or whatever it is you think I look like. Um, I'm happier now than I ever have been in my life. I'm doing better now than I ever have been in my life, financially and otherwise. And I'm doing okay. I'm making it. Yeah, I like the fragrance on Honest Amish, but if you're intolerant of the fragrance and stuff, I can understand that. I obsessively pick my beard hairs because of the way it makes me feel. I believe that's called stimming and can lead to some actual like problems if you start doing it more. You can get sores and stuff on your face from pulling out too many follicles in one area, and the constant stress on your skin and whatnot. So you might want to go get some help for that. Honestly, not trying to judge you. I'm just letting you know that can like progress. Get a forehead tattoo that says 100% Paul. No, thank you. I won't be getting any facial tattoos. Make it a gold tooth one day. I've always wanted to have like one gold tooth, like a pirate or a pimp, a pimpret, a pyrimp. One gold tooth, like I'm Shaba Ranks. Skinny brother, but my dick long. I'm looking into a pinky ring. Oh boy, dude. Hey, do you, brother? Get a pinky ring. I think I've decided that I'm going to get a watch. I just don't know what to get for my first watch yet, but I've decided that I think they're cool enough that I want to have like a little collection of. I'm not looking to buy expensive ass fucking watches, but you know, cool micro brand watches that I think are neat. I'm not doing any Velma cosplay. You're kidding me. All of the new hip hop artists do selling dreams to poor people. Yeah, but I mean, business is booming. I started wearing suits every day for about a month to see what would happen, and the respect everyone gave me was nice, but it was just a little watch. I don't know. Sister says you rock that beard, and I wholeheartedly agree with her. Well, I mean, I rock it because I own it. You know, it's not the best beard in the world. It's kind of scraggly, you know, and I don't really do much to it other than put the product in it, or you know, when I need to. Wash it when I take a shower and all that, but you know, it's me. It's mine. I like it. I like the way I look with it. No, I'm not going to get a Casio. There's a lot of micro brands that I really like. I'm looking at a like a Rado, a um a Zenith, or there's one other band like a Mula. Those are a little more expensive, but I really like them. So I'm looking at like some of the micro brands. I really like the watches that come out of Glashuta. So more like German tradition, although still with heavily French and Swiss influenced. So I like a lot of the brands that come out of Glashuta. I like Glashuta Original. I like Mula. I like I mean at the very top end, obviously, Along and Sona. Dude, I've been fucking freaking out about watches for about a year now. It's not really it's not really the thing. I became fascinated with how they worked. And I'm not claiming that I'm like some kind of fucking watchmaking expert, but now I understand how like the train of wheels moves power through, you know, the different calibers, and how you know, the difference between a watch with a tourbillon and one without it, and what a tourbillon is supposed to do, and how it's actually a useless little thing, but it's really only seen in hyper expensive watches. And I know how the barrel works, and I know how the mainspring works. You know what I mean? Like I know how they work, and I think it's fascinating some of the things they can do. And I honestly like the second thing that drew me to them is I think that they're really pretty to look at. I love the symmetry of them. I love the function of them. Knowing how complex it is on the inside is cool. A lot of watches have like a clear case back where you can see the caliber on the inside of it. You can see the movement, the balance wheel and the balance bridge, and you can see the train of wheels down in there, and the jewels, which are this beautiful like synthetic sapphire stuff. They're a ruby. They're red. Not very expensive, but like they add this pop of like pink to the back of the watch. It's beautiful. Leather or chain, rubber strap, dude, is how I'm gonna get. A good watch is hard to find. Not necessarily. There's a watch renaissance going on right now. A lot of these micro brands are cranking out crazy cool looking watch, and I don't care. I'm not doing it because I hope this watch is worth $1 million someday or whatever. I'm just looking at it like, dude, wearing that would be. I just like that. It's just cool. It just pops. Like I like a certain type of watch. I like the like more whimsical watches that have a pop of color on the face, or in the indices, or have a unique shape to them. Not like wild and crazy, but I like the watches that stand out and add a little color, and so that's what I'm into. I got a waterproof watch uh with time you can see in the dark. Problem is I can't find it. One of my best Christmas presents. Yeah, I mean, that sucks. You can make a statement with the right watch. You can, yeah. It's true, it's true, it's true. I want a leather Arabic numeral minimalist watch, please. Cool. I mean, there's a number of them that you can get that are real fucking cheap. I mean, people will make fun of you for it, but Casio actually makes some pretty fucking cool looking watches in a lot of different popular styles. That clean look you're looking, that kind of clean utilitarian look that you're looking for is super popular. And there's a lot of brands of watches that you can get for 65 bucks, 100 bucks maybe, and you get a decent mechanical automatic watch. I like some of the beach vibes. I like some of the retro vibes. I like old pilot watches, so big on your wrist, with very clear indices and very big kind of numerals, but otherwise a very clean face with a little color, a solid color face that pops, that's not just black or blue, but kind of like maybe some orange or yellow or green. Um, I do like some of the stark white ones as well. I love the kind of German school of watchmaking it's very, very like sparse and utilitarian. Some tiny little indices, delicate little hands, and just a pale, clean white background on it. Just very fine and delicate. I do like those. I think I'd like to own something that looks like that, but I mean, Casio, if you look at Casio watches, yeah, so, like the ones that you're thinking of are probably G-Shocks. And yeah, that's like the early 90s, early 2000, or late 90s, early 2000s kind of G-Shock brand. But Casio makes a lot of other types of watches as well. Seiko is another great brand that's pretty good entry level watch, pretty cheap, and makes a ton of fucking different styles of watches. And if you really like them, you can step it up to their top brand. It's a Japanese watch, Grand Seiko. They make some of the most beautiful fucking watch faces in the world. If you're a dial, if you like the dial of a watch, but I don't know. I'm narrowing down the watch that I want to get. I don't want to break the bank on it, but I also don't want to get something that's like super entry level. I want to get something, a couple $100, and I want to wear it for a while and see how I like it. And if I really like having it, I want to get I'd like to have a collection of 4 or 5 watches that I can just throw on wherever I go out or just sitting around. Honestly, I just like having one on. I used to, I used to wear a watch a lot when I was a kid, and I just stopped kind of doing it in my 20s. I do like the Grand Seiko brand. I can't picture the blue snowflake. I'm not super duper like, well, I know a lot of brands, especially the micro brands that I'm into. I love Zodiac. I love Zenith. I love Zen. Those three brands right there. I might buy my first watch from Zen. I really love the aesthetics on some of their watches, especially the more colorful options that they give. I love Oris as a brand as well. It's another like French micro brand. Um, so yeah. There's a brand out of America, a micro brand called Ball that I think it's kind of funny, Paul the Ball, but the name is the watchmaker is Ball, and they have some really fucking cool. I saw one the other day that I almost fucking pulled the trigger on, honestly. I like a big face. I'm a big dude and I'm a big wrist, so I like something in like the 41 to 45 millimeter category. That's what I'm looking in. So a lot of dive watches, a lot of pilot watches, fall in that category. I don't really like the all metal strap. I'll probably own one at some point just to test it out and see if it's any better than I remember it being when I was a kid, but I always hated them. I want to get that like comfortable rubber strap. And they're colorful too. Like you can get any color rubber strap you want and change them out really easily. So I like that about them too. I can get a rubber strap that matches the watch face color and have it pop that way. I think that's kind of neat. Swatch is still a cool brand. They make some really. I'm definitely going to own a Swatch at some point just because they make such crazy fucking pieces, and I want at least one piece that's just like totally whimsical, fun kind of watch because I just think it's neat. So I'll probably own a Swatch at some point. Probably not like a high end one, but just a cool one. I imagine Paul's watch is encrusted with keef. Cool. Maybe I can buy one that's pre-encrusted with keef. Yeah, I mean, I'm narrowing it down. I'm narrowing it down to a couple of. Like, I love Rados. I love Zen. I love Mulas. I probably just need to pick one of those three and get a watch from them. They all make watches that are the size that I like, and they all have watches that are in the aesthetic kind of house that I like. Maven, huh? I don't know if I could place it, but yeah, I like all the micro. I mean, you got to be careful from what I understand about these micro brand watches because you're looking to get something that's a little better than what you could walk into a Walmart and get, or something a little rarer or something a little more unique than that. But oftentimes these micro brands just pop up, release a couple watches, and then they just kind of disappear. And that's not necessarily a bad thing if you don't care about it. But, if you want to keep buying watches, because like I could see myself getting into the watch thing and having a big collection, 20 years from now when I'm older, and not like I'm saying, I really have no intent to ever get into like Rolex or Patek Philippe or Audemars Piguet or Vacheron or even like Along and Sona. Like I couldn't see myself really plopping down that kind of money, even if I was rich. But I do like these cool, like little offbeat micro brands that make really kind of like different looking watches. So I'm gonna get a couple. Anyway, I'm gonna let you guys go. I'm gonna get out of here. It's been fun. I'll see you next time. Bye.